Well, what's the second? Second thing is challenge. You see, sometimes I always say the only difference between a goal and a dream is a plan. You got to know where you're going. I'm so glad that I saw a number of signs that said Argonne guest house as I was driving. Because this is a tremendous campus, and I was taking the scenic route. But there was somebody who said, we've got to put some signs up to tell people where to go. And I got it pretty good. Well, that's the way it is. When you have challenges that come in your life, you have to stop and decide, what am I going to do about it? What is my plan for dealing with the obstacles that come in my life? They say the only difference between a pessimist and an optimist is that a pessimist sees trouble in every opportunity. And an optimist sees opportunity in every challenge in life. It's an opportunity to take it to the next level. And in your life, there are going to be times when things are going to be going great, but there are also going to be times when there will be challenges. I believe that the answer to our community, I work particularly in the inner city with the African American community, I believe that the answer to the challenges in the inner city are clear. We need parents who teach their children some basic values. My father never read the book. He and my mother were married nearly 60 years. He never read the book that said, you should not whip your children. In fact, if you showed him that in a book and said, look at here, if you whip your children, it will have an adverse impact on their psychological well-being. I always say, you know what he would do? He would whip you with the book. There are some children that are obedient, he would say. But there are some children who need what he calls discipline. The proper term is discipline. But while he could not pronounce it clearly, he could execute it precision. There are boys and 3 girls, none of us ever went to jail or prison. 5 of us are college graduates and beyond. All of us are gainfully employed. You see, life is full of challenges. And he taught us you must be prepared to deal with the challenges of life. None of us ever went to jail or prison because he said you are poor and you are a Negro, which he still calls African American people. I told him the proper term is African American. He says, I was Negro born and Negro bred. And when I die, I put a sign on my grave that says, there's a Negro dead. That's the way he thinks. But he's hard. He's careful about choices. No challenges. I want to be a lawyer from the time I saw Perry Mason. You remember Perry? Yeah. Oh, did I get excited to see Perry Mason. But my mother and father combined never made $20,000 a year in their lives. But they always taught us, if you believe, it's going to be difficult, it's going to be hard, but God will make a way somehow. My mother said the story I tell her. She worked for a wealthy family. She scrubbed floors on the hands. One day she had his birthday. Her employer forgot to get her a gift. And he said, Josephine, today's your birthday. I didn't get you anything, I'm very sorry. She said, oh, Mr. Van, don't worry. God has been good. I don't know. He said, no, it's your birthday. If you could have anything, what would you have? My mother keeps telling me, she said, I wouldn't want anything, Mr. Van. I've had a good life. Mr. Van was a very wealthy man, so he threw out a few things. He said, would you like a new dress? He said, no, Mr. Van, I don't go anywhere for church. I got it back to that. He goes back to it. He said, I'm serious. Would you like a new car? You could have anything. Would you like a new car? My mother's very frugal. She said, we have a car and a truck. It's not new, but it gives us where we want to spend. I just want it. Mr. Van stops her from working. He says, I'm curious. If you could have anything in life, what would you want for your birthday? You know what my mother said? She said, anything? He said, anything. He said, if I could have anything in life, I wouldn't want anything. If I could have anything, I'd want my children. He said, I got a little fat son who wants to be a lawyer. And I don't know how much money they cost, but I'm mad at the whole lot. So if it were anything for me, I'd live my life. I'd want my son and my children to have this. Do you know what Mr. Philip Vance did? From that day forward, he made a commitment. He paid for every dime of my college and law school tell me that you can't overcome challenges. Tom says the Lord will make a way somehow. And then he went one up on me. After I graduated, he called me to his house. He says, let's talk now about what you owe me. And I thought, oh, you, Mr. Man? I believe in law school we call that a gratuitous transfer. I thought, oh, I've done. Don't you think you owe me something? Well, I kind of thought it was free. You know? He said, one day you're going to be a very wealthy man. And I want you to promise me that you will look around and you will find someone who desires to have education, but just doesn't have the money. I want you to promise me you will do for them what I did for you. And the only stipulation I put on that is it must be another black person. He said, when you've done that, you pay what you owe. He held out. Friends, I have told that story all around the world. Mr. Barrett was not a black man. He was a man of integrity, a man of character, who said, I gave to you, not so you can drive by the ghetto in your BMW and say, oh, look at those people. No, I gave to you so that you can pull someone else up. He said, son, that's how your people will get ahead. Now, I could have said, what do you mean, your people? I said, thank you, Mr. Van, thank you, Mr. Van. I knew exactly what he meant. You must understand that there are challenges in life. And when you have overcome those challenges, you have a commitment to help those who have not. What's the last thing? Choices, challenges, and lastly, commitment. Many of you have heard me speak and heard this story a million times, so I will make it short. I wanted to be a lawyer, and I did well in college, well in law school, but then I got out and took something called the Illinois State Bar examination.